This story was sent to me by one of my subscribers who chose to remain anonymous. And today we are taking a trip to the bank. A bank that I'm sure some of you bank with right now. And after you hear this story, some of you might be pulling your money out of this and going to another bank. So now we have another issue where you have a white person calling the cops on a black person. This time an elderly black woman by the name of Barbara Carroll. She is 78 years old, and all she wanted to do was go to the bank and cash a check for $140. And this happened in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I'm telling you, that goddamn Florida, Texas, maybe Tennessee, those states right there, those are my problem states. Like, it seems like I always get stories from those states, especially Texas and Florida. But anyway, Wells Fargo refused to cash her check. So let me go ahead and read this story. It says, Barbara Carroll just wanted to cash a check for $140. The 78-year-old former probation officer and assistant bank manager, who is black, stopped by a Wells Fargo branch in Fort Lauderdale last November for what she thought would be a quick errand. Instead, she says she spent 2.5 hours at the bank's Victoria Park location while employees refused to cash her check or return her driver's license, asking the PhD holder what she did for the money and telling her they had called the police. What the fuck business is it of theirs that what she did for the money? That's none of their goddamn business. Your business is to take the money and deposit it or withdraw it or whatever request it is the person is asking of you. See, that's exactly why whenever I go to the bank, I don't go to the teller. I go straight to the ATM and make my deposits and withdrawals there. That's what I do. It's more quicker for me that way. They were suspicious that Carroll was guilty of forgery, she says, even after the man who wrote the check confirmed it was legitimate. I felt very embarrassed, she tells the New Times. I felt belittled. I can't tell you the emotions I felt. After months of national headlines about black people being arrested or threatened with arrest for doing things as mundane as sitting in a Starbucks, barbecuing in a park, visiting a neighborhood pool, and selling water, Carroll has filed a lawsuit over what she describes as her encounter with institutional racism in a complaint filed. Atlanta Fisk says in an email statement that the company is aware of the case but unable to comment directly on pending litigation, meaning they are trying to come up with a way to cover all of this shit up. And let me tell you something right now. I hope this Barbara Carroll has if she goes forward with this and they try to make a deal with her, that she cleans them for as much as she possibly can, has some sense, and don't be like them two knuckleheads up in Philly at the Starbucks talking about we're going to take this $2 in symbolism. I'm still mad about that shit. Wells Fargo opposes discrimination on any, of course, this is the PC explanation that all companies have to do, but don't like to do. Wells Fargo opposes discrimination of any kind as evidenced by our own non-discrimination policy, our commitment to diversity and inclusion in our workforce, and our long-standing history of support for community organizations that embrace diversity, she wrote. Carroll's ordeal began around 9:30 a.m. November 28th. She gave the check to the teller at the bank on North Federal Highway in the upscale neighborhood of Victoria Park. The teller, a white woman, asked for ID, and Carroll provided her driver's license and passport. But then the teller said there was a problem and asked her to have a seat in the lobby. A half hour passed, and Carroll asked to see a manager. The manager, who was also a white woman, said she would not return Carroll's check or identification and that she had called police. Carroll returned to a couch in the lobby, but after another half an hour, she called 911 herself. At 11:22, two officers showed up. They checked Carroll's ID and said it was valid. That's a goddamn shame. So you mean to tell me this woman just came to the bank to cash a $140 check that was signed and was legit? Y'all held on to her ID for 2 hours, called the police. They didn't come. She called the police herself. They did come, and the two officers validated that everything was legit. That woman spent damn near her whole morning at that fucking bank because those two bitches could not get their shit together, or they had something against her. She has every right to sue that damn company, but while she's at it, she needs to sue them two right there. Because them holding onto her ID is damn near kidnapping right there, because she couldn't go anywhere without it. She couldn't drive without it. Finally, hours after she had walked into the bank, Carol got her cash, but she still felt humiliated and angry. She was certain she'd be treated differently because of her race. Things that we being black people, things that we feel are sometimes brushed over like, oh, she was just doing her job, Carol says. It's a difference, and you can sense the difference. Making matters worse, Carol says neither the teller nor the manager apologized for the way they treated her. She called Wells Fargo corporate office, but didn't feel reassured by what she described as vague comments about training. It was your normal brush you up and make you smile, she says. Eventually, she hired a lawyer. I can't pronounce I think it's Quetzal Rodel, who calls the case another example of being treated differently because of the color of their skin. He and Carol says they hope the lawsuit might force change. Well, not only force change, but it will hopefully force some Benjamins out of their pocket and float them shits right into hers. And I hope she clears her shit out of her bank and go to another damn bank. Ultimately, we're hopeful that this isn't just about Wells Fargo, that other corporations take notice and realize that there has to be some kind of change in our culture, that these things are just not okay. I tell you, it just gets worse and worse each and every day, but I, for one, am not shocked. I am not surprised that this shit keeps happening. And they, in my opinion, they not only took advantage of her because she's black, but they also did it because she's old. She's up in age. She's 78. This woman has probably seen a whole lot more in her lifetime than them two heifers that was behind that counter treating her like shit. She's 78, so she grew up in that era of dealing with some real racism. If she grew up in Florida, I'm almost certain of it. The woman's 78 years old and probably retired, and go about her day, not to be stuck dealing with those two clowns behind the counter trying to question about her money. That's none of their damn business about her money. I don't give a damn if she dusted off a G-string and went on the damn pole and made $140 that night and decided to try to make a deposit or do whatever it was there with that money. That's her money. That's her business. See, the thing is, they're nosy. They always want to know something. It's like, and $140 isn't a lot of money. They made it seem like this woman came up into the bank with a duffel bag full of hundreds. Like she was about to deposit $140,000 or cash, whatever it was that she was about. $140 is nothing. For some people, $140 is not even enough to open up a goddamn savings account. But in the fact that they treated her like this and how she basically described her phone call with the corporate office at Wells Fargo, they were no different. So if I were them, they better play another PR piece real fast. Because if you don't want people pulling out of your bank, y'all better clean this shit up now. And I hope Barbara Carroll is hearing me. If you decide to sue them and you, by some sheer miracle, win, you get them for everything you possibly can. I'm not going to say get them for everything they got because I highly doubt that'll happen. But try to get them for everything that you can. Remember, this is a bank. Wells Fargo is pretty much worldwide. They have a Wells Fargo, at least one in every state. I say go and take their ass to the cleaners and don't look back. As a matter of fact, if you have an account with them, take your money out now if you haven't done so already. Y'all let me know what you think down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. If you can donate to my channel via PayPal, I would appreciate it. Or you can become a patron on Patreon. I would appreciate that as well. I will talk to you all in the next one.